Going into special needs adoptions was a fear. There was a day that I didn't think I could do that. I just, I didn't know that I was equipped, and God really showed me differently. And that He gave me mixed races to deal with, which obviously when you go places you have questions and you have people that ask things sometimes that aren't even in the best interest for the child to even hear. But we've really learned through those situations to just come right out front, tell the stories, and then encourage them to adopt also, tell them they can do it. God has taught me a lot through loving these children unconditionally, meeting them where they are, or going back in time as far as where they need development issues that that didn't get dealt with in an orphanage. Or our special needs are different too, in that we have a child that was on the streets, that lived for several years on the streets and had been abused. That was one issue. The next issue was a biracial little girl, and then an African-American little boy, and then 2 Chinese children with cleft lip and palate. The issues of cleft lip and palate, there's several surgeries that requires. Their little brains are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just a physical defect. And so many of the special needs kids that need homes have, a spot on their face, or just, a birth defect, or they can be missing an arm, fingers, toes. It's not necessarily something that is always an emotional problem.
Well, I knew that Zia, as she was called at that time, had a severe hearing loss. But I'm a former teacher of the deaf, a former elementary school teacher, and presently an audiologist. So I knew that I could be very helpful in her habilitation here in terms of hearing and speech and education. She's a very appreciative child. I mean, she has lived orphanage life, and she knows what it's like to want a mom and dad. And now she knows what it's like to have a mom and dad. And she's just appreciative of us setting everything in motion, and she's appreciative to be able to hear things like she couldn't hear before. She sat in our backyard and she said, "Listen, what's that?" And it was birds in the backyard.
I mean, like with this, a simple hearing aid is just such a dramatic change in her life. She said to us a few months ago, we hadn't been home long, she said, in China, no speak, no hear. Here I can speak and I can hear. Thank you, Mommy and Daddy. That is a huge thing, and so English is not easy for her, and learning English, it hasn't been easy. But she's been home 7 months and she's making great progress, and she really wants to learn, and has a really thankful heart.
So she's a great blessing to us, and we just love her.
Well, during our first adoption, we adopted Anna Lee, and when we were in the process of adopting Anna Lee, all of a sudden, at night I started thinking, there's a lot of people adopting children, but I wonder how many people are adopting children that might not be per se perfect. And so I just started praying about it, and my heart was open totally towards it, and I said, Lord, if we get a referral, whatever it is, I know it's your will. And then I just started praying more about it, and then we brought home Anna Lee, and she was non-special needs, classified non-special needs. And then in China, special needs is so different than what most people would say special needs in America. If you say special needs, you might automatically imagine someone in a group home or not being able to function or something. But special needs over there might be, you might just be missing one finger and they'd call you special needs. There was a little boy who had a big birthmark on his leg, and he was special needs. And little girl who had just a little, her flap wasn't here on her ear, and I laugh. I told Chris, we're special needs. We're totally, every one of us are special needs. So when I was in China, the orphanage, I went over and worked in an orphanage after I got Annalee because my heart, I just wanted to go back and prayed about it. And I went back and I started working in an orphanage, and we bathed all the babies, and it was so much fun. And they shut down the door where they bathed, and all of a sudden I noticed these dirty babies. I'm like, hey, these babies are dirty. And they said to me, well, it's okay. And I said, could I bathe him? And I bathed this little boy, and he was so sweet. And then I came back and I said, this little girl, she's dirty. How did this happen? And they were the special needs babies. They just didn't get to bathe the special needs baby. And they were simple special needs, like a cleft lip, just their mouth wasn't just totally put together. And this little girl was a tiny little girl, and I was bathing her, and all of a sudden she looked up at me and was rubbing my face. And I just knew she was my daughter. I just looked at her and I said, God loved me so much. And I just looked at her and I said, I'm gonna bring you home. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to bring you home. And I went out and I showed everybody Ellie. I said, you guys, is she beautiful? This is my daughter. And I didn't even notice her special need, but she was missing a lot of her right leg, and she had a little foot. Her leg goes like where your knee would end is where her little foot comes off of her knee. And she could walk, and she just had something missing, and it was that she needed a mother. She just needed a mom. And so I came home and I told Chris, and he said, let's pray about it first. Let's pray, let's not jump to any conclusions. And so we prayed. Everybody told me you won't be able to find her. You just won't be able to. And so we prayed and prayed. And on Father's Day at church, I knelt down and I said, Lord, take this desire out of my heart, or give her to me. The next morning I woke up and she was on the special needs list. Her picture, and I fell off the chair and called my husband and I said, we found her. And so the rest was history.
We filed paperwork that day.
We filed paperwork that day. But like special needs, it just, there's no difference with special needs mentally, or people say, are you going to get a healthy child? And I'm like, she's healthy. She's very healthy. She eats, she drinks, she's healthy. She's just has a shorter leg. And people don't understand that special needs doesn't always mean you're not healthy. We've got a healthy, wonderful, vibrant, loving daughter who is so kind and so tender. And my life would not be the same without her. I wake up and I say, what a privilege it is to have her. Sometimes I'm driving down the road and I'll turn and I say, God, why did you give me this honor to raise these kids? I'm not worthy. It's not like, oh, I've got a special needs daughter. No, I'm not worthy to have Ellie. I feel blessed and that God chose me to be her mother. And I'm so blessed to have her.
For more information about how you can add to your family through adoption, visit spiritofadoption.org.